Hello and welcome, I'm Vince, also known as PleasantKenobi on the internet, and I'm recording this at midnight on a Thursday evening, because Wizards of the Coast just dropped some tasty, exciting, and kind of bizarro news on us all about the Arena client and the future of said client. If I sound low energy, A, it's quite late in the evening, my wife's already in bed, and B, I am coming down with a cold, not COVID, I've tested negative, so that's why, okay? It's not because I'm eternally depressed about the state of Magic. I don't think Magic itself is dying. I do think this decision is fucking strange, but let's just jump into it. They introduced Alchemy today, a new format, what they're describing as an ever-evolving play mode for MTG Arena. And the first note is that they made this announcement very exciting by teasing it a little bit throughout the week, and I got excited because I thought maybe it was multiplayer, maybe it was Two-Headed Giant, maybe it was Battle for Zendikar, Shadows of Innistrad or something like that, maybe it was Modern or Pioneer plans, maybe it was Commander, maybe it was new anthologies, who knows, could be any of those things that could have been a lot more exciting than what it turned out to be. Now, if you think Alchemy sounds like it's going to be their new crafting system where you can sell off your commons, uncommons, or rare wildcards to upgrade or downshift or whatever to make more wildcards, well, you're a fucking idiot like I am. What Alchemy actually is the rebalancing of Standard. Standard will still exist, but around 30 days after the release of each set, they will be dropping the Alchemy update, which will be balancing some number of cards already in Standard. So in this case, for the moment, it's things like Esker's Chariot and stuff. I'll go into that a bit more in a moment. 5 buffs, 5 nerfs, and every single set will have one of these every 30 days to launch the Alchemy version of Standard with rebalances and then additional cards. In this case, they're adding 60 plus cards in the Alchemy boosters, which will be a booster product, by the way, that you have to crack open to get the new Alchemy cards, but these will be digital only cards. So basically we're going to have Standard, and then 30 days later Standard will transform into Alchemy with digital errata to balance cards that are too good, like Esker's Chariot and Aaron's Epiphany, as well as introduce new cards to the format as well. I'm going to go into some of the rebalances in a moment to show you what they kind of look like, but let's unpack that for a moment. Standard is only going to exist for around 30 days on Arena before it becomes something else. And Standard itself is not really a thing that I've played for a long time, or nor many of my friends, and I wonder how popular Standard has become as Commander has taken over and other Eternal formats, provide the tantallation on Modo and such. Like, is Standard really a big seller anymore? Is this them trying to save a Standard that is a sinking ship? Is this them trying to separate Arena away from paper Magic so that Arena eventually can be shut down without it feeling like they're cutting support for Magic itself? Or perhaps it's just them trying to save Standard as a format, something that people aren't as invested in anymore, they find to be a lame duck much quicker to be solved or to be problematic much quicker. Maybe this is their way of making that format not as boring. Maybe with the pandemic as well as the waning popularity of Standard formats that are always so fucking broken and gross, maybe the writing on the wall for Standard has become clearer, gotten bigger. Don't know how that metaphor really works. And maybe this is just their way of transforming it into something that will allow a digital space to be more exciting, more fun, and perhaps more profitable. So how will the errated cards work? Well, this is Esker's Chariot here, a 4-mana 4/4 vehicle that made 2 cats previously and was crewed for 4. It now only makes 1 cat and crews for 2. Technically, a rebalance more so than a straight buff, because obviously it can still be crewed by its crew of cats that come with it, but you're getting less bodies with it now instead. Aaron's Epiphany, Omnath Locus Creation, Cosmos Elixir, Wizard's Class, and Demilich are all getting buffs. Demilich is getting a full power of toughness increased. Wow. If you already own these cards on Arena, you'll get access to these versions in the Alchemy queues, which is the Alchemy format itself, as well as anything that has an historic card list. Yeah. This means that Historic now will have a debuffed Esker's Chariot, even though the Chariot had no effect on that format whatsoever. It also means that any further debuffs to cards that are considered problematic in the format will also leak in to Historic. For example, the Green-White Humans deck that I've just recently started playing in Historic is using Luminarch's Aspirant, a 2-mana 1/1 that puts a counter on a creature at the beginning of combat, which now does that in the end step instead, to be debuffed for Standard. Whereas the card doesn't need to be debuffed for Historic. It's a perfectly reasonable card in Historic. But now we're going to have cards in the Historic format. A format literally called fucking Historic that won't utilize or make use of the Historic versions of cards. Instead, using these alchemical fucking remakey stuff. And again, I'm just going to emphasize the fact that we're not using the word alchemy for our crafting system. There is no crafting system, not one at all, and I'll talk more about the arena economy in a moment too. So now we have Historic having cards that don't actually reference the same rules text as other formats. And now, I'm not naive to the fact that Historic is never going to be a paper format anymore, right? Historic is a format with digitally exclusive cards in it already that were already added, and I've been quite positive about their addition. They've been fun to play with, and Arena is a digital client, so we should be able to make use of some of the benefits of that client, right? But I also believe that Magic has a strength in that it has a card system, an ecosystem, a whole entire game world to play within. Multiple formats, 1v1 and multiplayer, where the cards perform the same, but they can function differently depending on what you play them with and what's legal in those formats. It's very strange to now consider that Omnath or Luminarch's Aspirant will be a different Magic the Gathering card in Historic and Alchemy than it is in Standard or Modern or Legacy or Commander. I really don't like that. And I do wonder if I'm being irrational. I do want to be introspective here and think, am I just an old man shouting at clouds? But honestly, I don't really know why Alchemy, which can be its own little experiment in making Standard not fucking boring, why that has to affect Historic so strongly. I mean, put the new, which I'm coming to in a moment, the new digitally unique cards into it, sure, but have the cards play the fucking same as they do in Modern or Legacy, for God's sake. And that brings me neatly to the new cards as well. I'm not going to go through all of them as a preview spoilery thing, but I'm going to mention a couple of them. Much in the same way that Historic got new cards added to it as digitally unique cards like Davriel and all that shit, we got a load of them being added to this new version of Standard, or Alchemy, as it's being called. And some of these are pretty cool, honestly. Captain Eberhard is my favourite, a 2-mana 1/1 double striker that makes opponent's spells cost more if they draw them this turn, and spells that you cost less if you drew them this turn. Another favourite is Patient Zero, a 2-mana 2/2 lifelinking zombie that literally turns the game to Hearthstone, where damage is persistent and doesn't fade off at the end of each turn. And then we have the return of Ishkanar and the Gitrog monster. This is the first time we've seen legendary creatures come back in this sort of digital exclusive format, and they've picked fan favourites like the Gitrog monster, and this Gitrog monster has some pretty crazy art and a pretty crazy mechanics. It's a 6/6 for 4 that has a Desecration Demon style downside, where an opponent can sack a body to stop you from attacking and tap you, but then you get to go seeking for a land, and in addition to that, all your lands are basically clues as well, yada yada yada. There's new cards coming, I'm going to look forward to playing them in Historic. I just wish they played out alongside cards that function the same across paper and the digital space. I want Magic to be a cohesive game and not two random game systems that share some similarities. So Paper Standard is all but fucking dead, and they're going to be errataing or fixing or patching or balance tweaking Standard through this Alchemy patch, which will then bleed through to Historic itself. Cool. Fine, I guess. In many ways, I don't give a fuck about Alchemy, but it bothers me that it's going to affect the format I do like, which is Historic. But the other bit that really stood out to me like a sore fucking thumb during the weekly MTG stream where they revealed all this was their talk of economy. Blake acknowledged that the majority of people in chat wanted to talk about economy and that he was going to do an episode later on it, which I look forward to a lot because it will probably be a lot of lip service, not any actual commitments to improving the already terrible economy of MTG Arena. On top of this, they were asked by chat what happens when a card is errated or debuffed or nerfed, as we call it in the gaming sphere, don't we gamers? But what happens when a card gets nerfed and then you've already spent your wild cards on it? So let's say, here's the hypothetical, right? You've got 4 Omnath in your deck that have been debuffed and are now legal in Historic, I think. I don't even know if they're unbanning Omnath, but they're fixing it via errata, so probably. And it's still too good, so they debuff it some more. They add, I don't know, 2 more generic mana onto Omnath, and therefore your Omnath now costs, instead of 4, it costs 7, and it's just dog shit, and it's not playable. You spent your wild cards on it, and then they don't refund you. That's what they've said, they're not going to refund you. So you spent your wild card, you get it, it gets debuffed, and because that card is now playable somewhere else, supposedly, they won't refund. Omnath's a weird one, so let's jump to another card. Let's jump to Esika's Chariot, let's say. Let's say somehow Esika's Chariot tomorrow becomes a commonly played card in Historic, and they debuff it some more. They make the cat into a 1/1 and keep the crew as 2. And it becomes unplayable overnight. They won't be refunding you because the card is playable in standard. That's the excuse. That's the rationale given on the stream. It's because the card is playable in standard, they won't be refunding you a wild card. Okay, so then when asked about the new digitally unique cards that aren't playable in standard, only playable in Alchemy, and they asked if they were debuffed or nerfed, would you get a refund there? And they said no, you won't. This is quite frankly fucking appalling. It's unacceptable, right? We have constant problems with Arena's economy. The wild cards can't be downshifted or upshifted. You can't buy them directly. You gotta crack fucking packs. What were the other problems? You've got like duplicate protection sometimes, but not all the time, because we're currently opening Thalias that we already own. And now you're saying that the one thing we could rely upon was when you ban stuff, and you're already suspending some stuff, so we temporarily don't have the wild cards from that. But when you ban stuff, we get wild cards back. But now you can just like nerf things to the point that they're unplayable, which is virtually a ban, and we won't get refunded for it. We can buy something with the intention of using it in, like, I don't know, way A, and then you nerf it to be way B, which is just A but worse, and we don't get refunded. But we wanted it this way, not that way. That's not okay, considering the economy is already expensive and Historic is already really fucking costly format to get into. That fucking sucks. I guess you can't spell predatory without MTG Arena. That sounded smarter in my head before I said it out loud. It's still shit. Fucking hell, my chest is bad. I've got a real bad cold. It's bringing me down. Alchemy caused this. Alchemy! I don't want to get on a soapbox too much about this, but it does fucking suck. Like, when you've got no hope in sight, you've got no crafting system, no renovations or changes to the wildcard system as it currently is. I can't uptick my 500 spare uncommon wildcards into 50 rares or 5 mythics or whatever the system they might eventually come around to if we make enough of noise would be. With none of that in sight. And for them then just to bare-face just stare towards camera or look up as they try to pull us out of the ether and say no, that's fucking shite. It's so funny to see Twitch chat react so badly and have them not even react to the bad reaction of Twitch chat. It's really funny to see legacy players begging for an update, to see their format adjusted or cared about, not left to rot. It's so funny to see people asking what's happening with Pioneer and Pioneer Masters and the stuff that was, you know, I don't want to use the word promised, but it was, wow, it was said to be coming many moons ago, and they've shifted course. It's funny to see all these people clambering for this stuff, and then for them to be given this new exciting morsel. And the morsel is something that nobody fucking asked for. There is an argument that the people who enjoy standard and think standard sucks right now are asking for this. This is the saving grace for the standard format. And supposedly this will be the format being played at Pro Tours and other tournament events in the future if the press release information given to other content creators who've already made videos on this are to be believed. But again, instead of getting information on organized play, we're given information on Alchemy, this new patched version of standard. Ultimately, it'd be really cool if I could just sit back and say, you know what, this ain't for me, but if you enjoy it, cool. But I do have to care, because it's having a knock-on effect on Historic now. As cards get nerfed or rebalanced or changed in Alchemy, it'll affect them in Historic as well. And like I said, I prefer it when cards function the same across multiple formats, because I like cards to do what they say on the tin, and I like to not get confused. I get confused easily. Having a card do 2 different things across 2 different formats is kind of wild. It's a cognitive load that I don't really want. And on top of all that, them dismantling or maybe retiring paper standard, they're not saying they are doing that, but it feels that way. That does speak volumes about what their future approach is and what their plan is for Magic the Gathering going forward in paper, doesn't it? So that is something I also have to care about, because I care about this game. It is A, part of my job of making content for it, and B, I really just like this game a lot. I love it, in fact. So I guess I do have to care. Because this does feel like the separation of digital and paper in a much more severe way than we'd seen previously. And this might not even be the end of the road yet. This might just be one stepping stone along the path to making Arena look completely different to paper. What does that mean? What does that even look like? Who the fuck knows? But I hope you're excited for Alchemy. It drops on the 9th of December. I'll probably do some content on it. I'll talk about it some more. I'm not going to play the format, honestly. But I will talk about how it affects affects and infects Historic going forward. That's me done for today. That's my lowdown, my vomit of the info that we gathered from the stream, with a little bit of commentary and a little bit of opinion attached as well. I hope it hasn't been too negative. Like I said, it's late at night, I'm tired, and my chest is bad from this fucking cold that I've got. My throat is sore. I'm going to put this video out, go to bed, and sleep in tomorrow. Thanks for watching. I've been Vince, also known as PleasantKenobi on the internet. If you have any comments or anything I've got wrong, or things you want to help out with in the comment section below with new information for people, because there's going to be a lot of questions around this. My Discord is ripe with questions right now. And comment down below. Otherwise, hit that like button, smash that bell, subscribe for more Magic content. There'll be plenty more over the course of the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, for the rest of my life. I'm stuck and I'm trapped in here. I'm trapped behind glass. Thanks for watching. I've been Vince. See you all soon. Ta-ta for now.